Carrie, how are you today?
I am doing great. It's a little hot in Boston, but otherwise doing really well.
We've got to carve out some time to think about stick our head out and think about what could be coming, what opportunities are there right now that we might miss of transforming the industry, things that we talked about for years, but things are changing so quickly now that there's some opportunities that weren't there even a few months ago. So everything is different now. There is no status quo. Like there is no way things have been done anymore. I see that as an opportunity, but Carrie, tell us just in general, like how are you feeling these days about what's going on in the industry?
It's really interesting because I have heard multiple CMOs talk about how there is no going back to what it was pre-COVID. And there are a lot of people who are still saying, okay, when this is all over, now we'll get to go back to what we were planning strategy-wise, or now we'll get to go back to whatever it was that we were getting ready to do at the beginning of 2020. And then many CMOs are now saying, I don't actually think this is never going to change things. When we look back, it'll be BC before COVID, and then it'll be AC, I guess, after COVID, and everything will change. And I was feeling a little bit, what would I call it? Early on, I was feeling really discouraged because I feel like, you and I have been, and, many people have been talking about digital transformation and really evangelizing digital change for so long. I mean, my Google days, I was talking about it. I mean, it's been 15 years for me where I feel like I've been talking about digital. And I was really discouraged when this happened, COVID happened, and this was the moment for digital to shine, an absolute moment for digital to shine. And it didn't. And now I am now more encouraged because this actually was an opportunity. It was like what I have talked about as a flashbulb moment, the Challenger blowing up or Kennedy being shot or 9/11, where you have this moment now in your mind that you're never going to forget. And if you were in healthcare in this moment now, this is the opportunity and this is the time where transformation, I think, is now legitimately going to happen. Organizations will have seen what's going on behind the scenes and how there wasn't a clear digital transformational strategy. There wasn't a clear understanding of how do we have a good patient experience in a digital fashion. I mean, my husband sits at the kitchen table. I talk about this all the time. He sits at the kitchen table and he spent 2 weeks trying to figure out how to get telehealth to work and telemedicine and virtual visits to work for his multidisciplinary clinic with no guidance from Mass General at all, because they didn't even have any of that pulled together yet. He had to chart it out, and then he was, during grand rounds, teaching others how he was doing it. So there is a lot of catch up that we're doing, but now I'm encouraged by the fact that, okay, now we're in this space where I think people's eyes have been opened to digital, and now the conversations that we're all having, I think, are going to go deeper, and we're going to have bigger opportunities to actually then say, this is a game-changing moment. What can we do to help?
Let me throw a couple ideas out here, a couple of shifts that need to happen that have been talked about in corners, but now this needs to be like the main discussion, right?
Yeah.
So shifting the focus from digital advertising to digital brand experience, that's where reducing friction in my mind comes in.
Yeah.
What you just described is a perfect example. And then shifting the focus from building hype to building trust. So when we're talking about content, so much of the focus is on individual social media posts, e-blast, web page copy, and we're missing that big picture of what are we doing all this for? Oh, so we can create some hype around our brand. And no. We are so past that. So making those shifts from a focus on digital advertising to focusing on the digital brand experience, and then shifting from building hype to building trust. Where do we start with those?
Yeah, I mean, think about the digital brand experience now, BC, before COVID, and now during COVID. Everything's digital now. Literally everything. I pay for things with my watch now. I pay for things with my phone. I used to kind of try a little bit beforehand, but now I've been forced into it. And healthcare is pretty much digital as well. And so that should be the focus, is what is that experience and how do I make sure that I can eliminate an entire amount of friction from that? What are they doing to make the appointment booking experience better? That's where loyalty, I think we will literally have patients say, that was a great experience. That was seamless. I had a great video experience as well. I am going to stick with this because they made it easy. And that's what Walmart does. That's what CVS does. So I couldn't agree with you more, but I also think that these organizations really need to evaluate and actually be the patient. Go walk in those shoes, feel it, experience it. I don't think enough of that is happening too. So that could be a step that they could take, is just get in there, feel it, do it.
I've questioned a lot whether it's even making sense these days to call what we're talking about, this process, marketing anymore. I still think it is. I think marketing has the best opportunity to lead this effort. And that kind of, takes me to another thought of one way we can accelerate this process is by shifting how we understand the role of marketing and elevating our own status internally, elevating our own seat of influence at the table by shifting the things we're talking about. We're not talking about gaining approval for budget. You're talking about an investment strategy.
Yes.
Talking about, you want to give senior leadership every reason they can have to view you as an indispensable member of the business strategy team.
Yeah, I agree. I think I've talked about one of these terms before, but you made me think of this. You could either be a data dinosaur or you could be a data czar. And so a data dinosaur is still thinking or talking about the impressions and maybe how many likes you got on a social media post. But the data czar is taking the data and painting a meaningful story, and even better, especially in these digital days, linking it to actual conversion that could be happening. So how many appointments did you book? What percentage of those appointments actually converted into somebody who showed up either virtually or in person? How do you connect that back to revenue? How do you connect that back to reimbursement? That's a more sophisticated way of looking at marketing within healthcare that has been very complicated up until this point, and probably will continue to be complicated. But because we're now far more digital, I think we're going to have and see an acceleration in things like online appointment scheduling, linking that back to revenue, being able to understand the ROI piece of it. And the data czar marketers will be the ones who will be able to use that to tell the story to the CFO, to the CEO, to the COO, to the CSO, to everyone at that C-suite. Say, look at what we've done. And then be able to actually say, okay, I need more, and ask for more because they can value and justify it.
Carrie, thanks for giving me a few minutes today. Definitely, stay safe, stay well. Good luck with everything you're doing. And it's great to connect with you again.
Thanks, you too. Great to be here.